Hi everybody, this is Lynn from Creative Concept Crafts with this week's release, which is a Trellis Trifold card. I've taken the liberty of cutting the pieces out on the Scan and Cut, and I've also pre-scored the lines on the base. I've split it into 3 layers. The base pieces, which are the 2 pieces in green, which, as I've said, have been pre-scored. Make sure that you burnish the pieces down well, guys. At this stage, it makes it easier when you start to construct the card. Now, if you have a look at the edges on all of the 2 layers that I've got here, the green and the white layer, what I've done is I've run them round the edge of a scoreboard. I have a hunky-dory scoreboard, and I've run down all the edges on the right hand side of the board. And what I find is when you're putting the cards together, if you have trouble lining up mats and layers, if you've got this scored line to follow, it makes them really easy to line up from one layer to the next, and it really helps. I haven't bothered with the red, which is done on glitter card, because there's already a board around it, but with the green layer and the white layer, I have actually run them round on the scoreboard. And if you take a look here, I'm showing you the 2 layers, and if you sit it inside of that score line, you'll find that they line up perfectly. So a good tip for you if you have trouble lining up mats and layers, but shh, don't tell anybody, will you? My crafty tip for you, between you and me. Okay, so we're ready now to start gluing the pieces together. So I'm just going to add the little extension to this card before we do anything. So I'm just running a very fine line of glue up to the score line. So along to the edge, up to the score line. And I'm just going to join that together, lining up top and bottom, and just overlap the 2 score lines. So you just end up with the 1 score line, burnish well down, and I'm going to flip it over and burnish down on the other side as well. So that's the base card ready to go. Now we start on the white layers, and again running round the outside with the glue, round the edges all the way. So that's the 4 sides, and then a squiggle in the middle. So just a fine line. Remember, if you use too much glue, you'll end up with wavy card. So less is more. As long as it's burnished down once you've got it lined up, then you'll be fine. So I'm just lining this up inside of that score line, and then I'm just going to flip over to burnish it all down. I think you can see the line that edges the score lines that line up. So just burnishing on the wrong side. And I'm going to speed this little bit up because I'm just repeating the same thing for all the mats. This is mat 1 on the file. Just lining up those score lines and adding the glue. Lining the white up with the white along the edge, both sides. And the final piece taking place. And again, I'm just going to make sure those pieces are all burnished down. And then we're good to go with the trellis mat. So you can think, I'm going to fold the card up now so that you can see how it's going to sit. And that's the way it sits in a box or in an envelope. Depends how much you're going to add to it, whether it's flat or whether you need the box if you're adding flowers. In this instance, I would be doing a box for this card because I've added the poinsettia flowers. So again, I'm burnishing all those score lines down so that it sits nicely. And we're ready to add the trellis pieces. Now, I've designed this, it looks a little bit, they are actually circles that I've added here. Sort of, well, if I say circle, it's a squash circle. And on a previous card that I've done, which I'll show you at the end of the video, I've added glitter to all the little dots. But you could also add pearl gems, diamantes, glitter, as I've already said. It's open for anything. This particular one, I'm not going to add anything because I've already cut it out in glitter card. So I feel that with the glitter card, it's enough. But equally, you could add silver to this, red, green, whatever you feel like. So again, I'm speeding this up because there's a lot of bits to glue. I'm doing down the horizontals and the verticals. Just again, a thin line, and this glue tip that I've got is absolutely wonderful for very fine tip work, fine detail work. So again, lining that down, lining with the score line and fitting in, just giving it a bit of wiggle room and flip over to burnish it down. And I'm going to repeat the same thing with all these other pieces. Again, I've speeded it up, but all the horizontals and all the verticals, I'm just running a very fine line of glue across. Again, burnishing each piece as I go. There, the two trellis pieces done. Now there's just 4 small ones to add. Again, you can line up, make sure you've got an even edge all the way around your mat. You can turn these pieces either way up. There's an up and a down. You'll see when you get the design. I've done both ends opposite, so I've done one set up and one set down. So that's the card base complete at that. All we need to do now is decorate, although it's pretty as it is. You could use that with some gems on, a sentiment, and it'd be good to go. But on this particular one, I'm now going to add the poinsettia flower. It's a Christmas card that I'm doing, and the poinsettia, of course, is an iconic piece. What I've done with this, I explained it on if you've already got the poinsettia flower, I've just tipped all the edges of the petals with a little bit of glitter. All the way, I've cut one layer out in glitter card, and then the centerpiece, the very fine petals, I've glittered all the way through. So it's ready to just add into the center of the card. I think this is the biggest of the poinsettia flowers I'm using here, and 1 or 2 of the leaves. And I'll say to you, play about with these poinsettia leaves. You can layer them up in many different ways. Try going smaller as well as bigger with the layers and the mats. It works. You can just add in the center. Just glue the glittered bit to the smaller back piece. It looks really, really effective. And on the mint green and lilac card that I did play about with a little bit of layering on there. So make sure you take a look at the end and just see what I've done with them. What I'm doing, I'm lining this flower up in the center of the area from the narrow to the wide piece. just with a little bit of hot glue in the centre, just pushing down. And then I'm just going to add a couple of the leaves, bringing some bits in here that I've already glittered, ready to go. And you can either use a wet glue or a hot glue for this. Doesn't really matter. I've used a hot glue on this just purely for the fact that I can lift the card up fairly quickly so that you can see where I'm going. I'm just tucking the stem just underneath the flower. I'm going to sort of just cross those pieces over a little bit. Again, a touch of hot glue onto the stem and just a little way up from the stem. Tuck underneath the petals at the back and just overlap the leaves just a little bit. So I've got a dark green and a lighter green there. The light green is the same colour as the base. So the darker green I've just added in. I'm going to do the same thing at the other end. Different parts of the leaf. It's the large leaf I'm using here. Again, I'm just tucking under the stem, under the flower at the back. And again, this is the skeleton leaf I'm adding here. Again, I'm just overlapping just a little bit. And I'm actually quite happy with that on there. I think that's enough on that little piece. If you wanted to, you could add the gems, diamantes or glitter to the little circular pieces that are still showing. That's up to you. But as I said, I've used glitter cards, so I felt that it was enough on this occasion for me. So there you can see how it's looking. I'm going to add a small flower at the, I've done a card already, I added it to the bottom. This one I'm going to add it to the top. So again, just a little drop of wet glue into the centre of the flower. And I'm just going to push it down, just popping it into the corner. And again, I'm looking for a few leaves. I feel these are a little bit big for the smaller flower. I think this is the smallest flower I've used here. So I'm picking out some of the smaller size leaves that I've pre-cut. This time, instead of adding them underneath the petals, I'm adding them in the middle of the flower, so that they're lifted away from the card this time. And some of the offcuts from the shadow flower. It's just an offcut from there that I'm going to be using. This is a little bit I've cut on metallic card. So there's a bit of glitter card, a bit of metallic card, and I've used a plain card with glitter on. So literally for Christmas, as far as I'm concerned, it's bling, bling and more bling. One more leaf. Again, it's an offcut from the centre of the shadow flower. Again, it's a little piece of the glitter cardstock I've got. Just tucking in the middle of the flower, and that's good to go. I'm just going to add a sentiment now towards the base of the card. And what I've done with this, it's a die cut that I've got, and I've cut it twice. I've cut it in the green base card colour and the red glitter card, which I've just offset slightly. And then what I did, I scanned the die cut into the scan and cut, saved it to file rather than direct cut, and I just did the outline. You can also do an inline, you can do an inner and outer, but this one I just did the outline, saved it, sent it to Canvas online, and I brought it into Canvas and I created an outward offset, and I've just cut that on the scan and cut to give me the base layer. I've added a couple of layers of what am I trying to say here? I've added a couple of layers of foam tape to the back and just added to the base of the card. The previous card I'd done, I did it the other way around. I put the greeting at the top, the flower at the bottom, but I think you can see they're both really pretty. If you look at that lilac-y green card, you look at the mint green and the lilac leaf at the top left, I think you can see what I said when I said I was layering them up one on top of the other. So 2 pretty cards. Hope you like it. Thanks very much. Bye for now.